Hello, Justin. Good
Hey there,
afternoon.
Eric. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right on a Friday, August 15th.
I liked the Zen music that's new for the countdown. Good for National Relaxation Day as
Quite
well.
relaxing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a busy week, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time on LinkedIn this week. Yeah, it's
You
been a
did.
little, yeah.
I did want to call out something that didn't age very well on LinkedIn. I kind of did a recap of the show from last week, and you said, "Oh, listen, not sure how this week can beat last week. I mean, it's been insane. Let's see what happens. What happened? What happened this week, Eric?"
Just some friendly banter on LinkedIn, which definitely touched a nerve,
Hmm.
for sure, in the world of conferences, and we will get to that.
Yeah, we will. But first, there's been some other news, right? Some Graystar news. I think everyone knows, maybe everyone knows about the DOJ settlement.
I'm not exactly sure if they do, which is interesting if they don't per se, but yeah,
The
oh, you,
big
you put in
news.
notes for me here, which is really nice. Thank you
I
so much.
did. I did put in notes. Well, I mean, one of the things, basically, this settlement that happened, right, is basically letting us know that revenue management software is legal, but there are certain guidelines and rules in terms of what the algorithms could do, what you can do with your competitors, that in order to make that work.
Yeah, essentially, you are what is it? You are allowed to share between owners, but between your own ownership, your own
Right.
properties. You cannot share with other owners
Right.
if they're using, you know, your proprietary software, right? So that because that still is competition
Right.
technically, and
Yeah.
that's you cannot do that, right? That would be a part of that, you know. And essentially, this is guided by software. I mean, you can still go around and price shop. You can
Hmm.
go on the internet. You can call people up. Hotels have been doing this for years, if not decades, right? You call another hotel up and say, "Hey, what's your nightly rate for
Hmm.
Queen?"
Yeah, and lots of thought leaders have talked about it, posted about it, wrote about it, blogged about it, interviewed people about it. So there's a lot of stuff around it right now. But Graystar also made news for some other things. They just wrapped up their build to rent market update, their national market update, which was kind of spoken. Jay Parsons, Don Walker, and Joe Parsons kind of sat on a panel. Dissected the market. I know some folks at Graystar said, "Hey, if you're a Graystar client, we can give you this report. We can give you this summary." So that's kind of huge news.
Yeah,
And a big congrats to a woman in marketing at Graystar, Michelle Beckner
Michelle
Cohen.
Beckner. Yeah.
Yeah, she won the Woman of the Year in Marketing. So I wanted to give her a shout out. Those recognitions are few and far between, but that's an exciting one.
This is great. Well, shall we move
Let's
towards
let's
our
start the
breaking
let's start
news?
the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start our conversation here. We'll bring in our guest, Leslie. Leslie Mathis, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks
Of
for being
course.
here.
So Leslie, I'll bring up my my email to you for our format. Leslie, they're quite a hot topic this week. A lot of discussion around Moshe's post about why do we have boiling down what he said, but I will quote it here shortly. Boiling down, like why are there events, conferences, for women only, or at least specifically uh, for women, right? It's not like you're not inviting men, but why do we have these? Why and to other people who say lots of let me back this up a little bit. Lots of people commented on this conversation, and it sparked a lot of deep feelings. It brought in, I think, some constructive conversation, which I do want to talk about, but I also want to talk about the other side where it brought in um, a lot of like trauma and negative feedback. And I ended up making a post about this on social media because the women that I spoke with who saw this post, a lot of them talked about things that happened to them at conferences and in corporate, in multifamily, and in real estate and in prop tech that are not appropriate and are the continuous reasons as to why there are events for women. But it's not
Sure.
just that. There's a lot more to this multi-layered thing. And I'm going to shut up now, and then would love to hear your opening thoughts here.
Yeah, Eric, I mean, in transparency, I'm not as connected to LinkedIn as I should be. And my team will often post, but when Moshe's post hit, like my text started blowing up, and but it's because I have a women's conference, and but there was definitely some direct feedback and some constructive feedback. What I can tell you is, I've been in the industry almost 25 years. January will be 25 years. And I spent the first 15 years on the operations side, which is mostly female dominated. And when I flipped over 10 years ago to the ownership side, it's mostly male dominated. And I was shocked at some of the behavior I saw from women leading real estate. And listen, they deserve to be leading that real estate, but they were stepping on other women to get there or along the way. And I was, again, just shocked. I don't know another word. And I knew we couldn't change that potentially, but we could change that behavior for the women coming behind them. We could model something different. And that's really how Empower started. But I also knew that navigating in that male dominated world, we couldn't put in the hard work. We couldn't create a safe place in a co-ed environment. And so that's why I started my event. Men aren't invited to it, but it's also, I mean, it's a multi-family event, but really anybody could go because we don't talk about trends and NOI. Like it's really a place where you dive in and do the work on yourself, and then you learn that women were stronger together, and that it's our job to bring other women along with us. What's funny about that is, and it relates to your post, Eric, is along that journey, and it took me a few years to get out of my own way. We've only been doing Empower for the last 3 years because even somebody said, oh, well, you do events because you make money. Well, I mean, that's not why I do it. And that's not the reality of where we're at today.
That was Moshe, actually. I believe he brought that
Yeah,
up.
him and I actually have unpacked that piece, which I do think actually says, it's proof that Empower is doing it for the right reasons too. And it's not a money generator for us, and we just pray to break even. And we recognize that we're not event planners, like we're operators, and we run real estate, and we do that really well. But we also have a team rallied behind me that we believe in this mission that we're doing too. And but I believe we're doing it for the right reasons. But what I was gonna say is, what's happened along that journey the last 3 years is all these other things have come about. Like it was so unfortunate to hear of like assault and inappropriate conduct that these women have experienced at events. But it's also made me think of all the things that I've actually experienced too, inappropriate conversations at dinner tables or at board tables. And you know what? Like sometimes as women, when you're the only female sitting at that table, it's hard to speak up. But that's one thing we focus on at Empower, like finding your voice and being able to do it in a way that is constructive and meaningful. Because I mean, I'm sure it happens to everybody, but like how many times have we been around a group of people and people were saying something that wasn't appropriate, but we weren't brave enough to speak up. And I think when you have, these women events, it just gives them more power and more muscle memory. Sarah Graham had the best response to your post yesterday, Eric, and she just spoke at Empower in New York, and she is so impactful and so meaningful. But one of the things she speaks about is muscle memory, and muscle memory on the good side of speaking up and, fighting for yourself. But what we also discussed was muscle memory on the hard part, because once you speak up that first time, then you get a little more confidence, and it's that same muscle memory that keeps you coming back, keeps you doing the right thing and not letting things go said that shouldn't be said.
So, yeah, lot to talk about here. I do, and you've talked to Mocha. I talked to them as well, just to understand a little bit more of the impetus behind his post, and what he was trying to bring up with this.
Right. I think that I'm going to
The
add to the edit, like the question
Please.
that you have on here, which is, I think our intentions, our questions are great, but as men in the industry who want to support women or like give them space or deal with this, I think the question is like maybe we're not the ones that should be asking the validity of a women's conference, or maybe we're not if we do have questions about that, how do we give voice to that? So I think I have questions, and Eric has questions on how, as men in this industry, like what can we do to support making better spaces, making better room, giving more equality? What are things that we can do?
Yeah, and it you have to be willing to speak up and have some of those conversations. Like, I can just even think back in the day, I spent a lot of my career as a regional, and I would have male managers that needed to address dress code with on-site team members, and they were just terrified to do so. But we can't take that and continue to model it into leadership as well. Like, we've got to be willing to sit down with our female leaders and ask them, like, what's important to you? Really, building into the budget for them to go to events where they do pour into themselves that might be outside of our industry, making sure that we all have, the same, rights and benefits. There's a lot around maternity and paternity leave, and adding nursing rooms to office space, and really just allowing for those conversations to happen. Not even just conferences, but what about coaching too? I was telling Moshe about this just a little bit ago, that when we started Empower 3 years ago, people didn't even talk as liberally about professional coaching as they do today. So we've made strides there. But as a male leader, putting a career track for your female leaders in place and putting them in rooms where they're stretched and they can grow, it's meaningful and it changes it. But we can't avoid the conversation just because we're male leaders and we have females coming behind us, or on our team. Like, we've got to have the conversations.
Yeah, agreed. And let me just briefly talk about. I'm bringing up the NMHC top owners here. Uh, you to me, the simple question is why are there events for women in multifamily real estate, any industry, right? Well, here's why. Because the NMHC top 50 owners, the CEO of Greystar is Bob Faith, MAA, Eric Bolton Jr., Mitchell, Chris, Mark, Benjamin, Jeff, Bob, Stephen, Warren, Mark, Dean, Angela, number
Yeah.
13, Essex Property and Trust. And then back to Gregory and Tom. Like, you know, this is why. It's because men are dominating these positions, these leadership positions. So how else can women get a seat at the table, right? And at one point, Moshe talks about he talked with me about how he forged his own path, and I understand that you absolutely have to forge your own path. However, you can't do that if you're being denied access repeatedly to get speaking opportunities. If you're denied a chance to speak up during conference calls with board members or higher ups, right? If you're being talked over, mansplained, right? So, and I see this happening, right? I have a wife who's had this happen to her. I see it very much so clearly in her field, and I know it's happening in our field. So to me, it's clear. I don't need to ask this question, and I don't need it to be answered, and you don't need to answer it. But I'm happy you're here to do that today, along with many other women who gave their thoughts and chimed in on this. And it just sounds exhausting to me to have to consistently explain this over and over and
It
over.
really is. But you know what? Because we're having to do it, I think women are like retreating back sometimes and not finding their voice, not going to the conference, not going to the pop-up event. It's because we're exhausted. We're working so hard. Like, our industry is tough right now. And I think we forget sometimes that these are the moments that shape us and make us stronger. But we're tired, and I'm sure everybody is, right? It's not just women, but there are other things for us to battle. And I think it's also why we're so adamant at Empower about we're stronger together. It can't be me against Sarah. Sarah and I are stronger together. I got to share the best story at Empower last week or 2 weeks ago when Sarah and I were in New York. Listen, you guys, I didn't know that Sarah operated in the same space. We were connected through a mutual friend. And immediately we connected, we hit it off, and we just jumped into what this pop-up was going to be, what our message was. And we were so excited. I didn't take the time to, ask Sarah her background. But then I found out that we navigate the same space. Like, we are truly competitors. 5 years ago, I would have been intimidated by that. And I probably wouldn't have brought Sarah to our platform because I would have been worried that Sarah took my client too. But today, 5 years later, 3 years later, whatever it is, I know that I'm stronger partnered with her, and that there's enough business for both of us. And we might actually work on the same project with the same client in a different capacity, but we're not having those conversations. We're not getting in that space. But I think some of it's because we're tired of fighting all the time, and we're tired of, all the other things we have on our plate. And then we put ourselves last and we don't go put in the work. But I just know that when we get in the room together, we get that extra confidence. We put in that extra work, and then we're better for it. And then we actually remember, like, we are stronger together, and it is our job to bring other women along with us. We might today be the only woman sitting at that table, but next week I can bring Sarah with me, or, whoever it is, Chelsea, like, bringing them with me. That's my job, but I can't lose sight of that.
Well, it's and I can appreciate the challenge of navigating competition in the industry, right, with peers. But ultimately, I think the whole the larger conversation for me just always comes back to, if you're busy trying to grow the pie, right, if you will, instead of growing your piece, if you're consistently stifled by male peers, and beating through this glass ceiling, then at the end of the day, you're forced to compete with women who, in reality, you should be building the pie bigger. But it's this like false, false playing field, right? That you might feel like you're in, but in reality, you can both build something great by working together. So it's great that you're able to do that with Sarah.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen if we don't get in the room together. It doesn't happen if we don't create those moments, whether it's a conference, it's a pop-up, it's a women's book group. Like, if we don't create those spaces, then it's never going to happen. And then we're just, competing against each other. And it's the same thing. Like, you brought it up, Eric, of like all these men leading the companies. If we don't speak up and continue to fight for those positions, then it's never going to change. And then we got to get behind more women to go start their own companies and help them push forward. Like, if we can't change one organization, then we got to get behind one that's doing it different and creating those spaces and help push them forward too. We have responsibility in it.
And correct. And a brief history of salons for anyone who does not know what they are. A salon is not necessarily a place where you go to get your hair done. It started back in the 1700s. And salons were created specifically for women to share information because they were barred from doing things that men were able to do.
Yeah.
Now, sure, that was the 1700s, but 1974 was the year that women were able to have equal ability to go out and get a credit card on their own. 74, not too long ago.
Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah, and to these groups exist naturally, right? They exist naturally in all kinds of like socioeconomic, worlds. It's just that when it gets labeled as a women's thing, there's all these stigmas to them. But there's plenty of men's groups that just maybe they don't call themselves men's, but it's just all men in a room, and no one is saying, "Hey, why are you having this event where only men are there?" Like, so I think some of it is natural to us that we forget that sometimes we do just group together naturally. But I think it's important. I think it's important for us to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where men come along too to support that. Like, it is true. Like, how many men in our industry, they go out and they play golf. But if women were to go get, blowouts and pedicures, how would that be perceived? Golf is perceived as this, like, it's a business engagement, and that's, all the magic happens out on the golf course. But, it's perceived differently if all my girlfriends and I run into Veronica Beard, have champagne, Diet Coke, and get new blazers. Like, it's not the same. And why not?
I'm actually curious about the business expensing of that too, right? I mean, that's another thing. I mean, seriously, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to dollars, right?
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of tea times that are expensed, but I sit on the client side. Nobody's got me a Veronica Beard blazer. But I know all these developers I work with, they are on the golf course all the time, or there's surfing trips, or there's fishing trips. But when I speak up, I just sound jealous, but that's not true. It's a fact.
Yep. Hunting trips, a lot of hunting trips down
Yeah.
south here.
That's why, we have a series of messaging, really going back to your earlier point of like, what can men do? We have a series of messaging that goes out to male leaders with our industry of like, send your women to empower. But now we're doing the same thing, like, send your clients. Like, most of these women sitting on the asset management side, they're not going to the golf course or the hunting trip or the fishing trip. But what better gift could you give them than a women's conference that's all about them? It's not a boondoggle. It's all about them, where they leave stronger, sharper, connected to more women, feeling empowered. So we really can like join forces and change some of the issues.
My mic was muted. This is great. I want to continue this conversation. I know that you have a hard stop in a couple minutes here. So I'm more than happy to open it up to anyone in the comments, or if anyone does want to come on, I've actually left a link in the comments to Restream. So, Chelsea has an awesome comment here. I'm going to try to parse through it. Yes, research indicates a negative correlation between CEOs playing golf frequently and company performance. Imagine that. There may be a chief in residence somewhere who has to deal with that right now. No. So companies led by CEOs, the top quartile of golf play.
Yeah, and
Tend to have lower
I
operating
navigate
performance.
on the, a lot in the development world. So I don't know how many CEOs are playing golf. I can't speak to that, but I could definitely buy that statistic for sure. And I know, developers are playing golf and a lot on the ownership side. And it's not about golf, like, right? Like, and it's not just golf, but I mean, I think you could see that. Like, because there's a perception, like, as a CEO, if you're out playing golf and everybody else is working so hard underneath you, like, it's just a real disconnect. There's not a relatability to that.
Correct. So this goes right back to the fact that like women have to create events to go to. Like it's not an excuse, it's the requirement
Yeah.
to continue both professional and personal development. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't, I think as women, and I can only relate to this because I'm a woman, but so maybe it's everybody. But we read a lot of statistics that men don't feel bad about leaving work early to go to the baseball game or to whatever it is. But as women, we put this guilt trip on ourselves like, I've got to get this budget done, this reforecast, this funding, like whatever it is. And the last thing we put work into is ourselves. And so when we talk about this, women are stronger together and it's our job to bring each other along with us. Like that means to the event, to the pop-up, to the book club, to the, wine event, whatever, like we've got to encourage each other to do these things instead of putting ourselves last where everybody else is getting the goods and all you have left are the scraps. And so we've got to normalize that too. I mean, we know when we host a pop up that only about half the people are going to show up that signed and RSVP'd. But because something happened, like they needed to finish the report, they were drowning in email. It's not normally traffic, it's normally all the other things work related that they felt like they couldn't leave unattended to go have charcuterie and wine. And they're missing the piece that it's not about the charcuterie and wine. It's about the speaker and hearing the truth that Sarah Graham has to speak into you and that other women are navigating the same thing. So we have to normalize that it's okay to go and do those things because we're better for it.
Well said, Leslie.
Thanks.
I think I'm gonna end it there just for you. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you have a hard stop here at 1:00. Would love to continue the conversation. So if anyone does want to hop on, please feel free to click the link and restream. Happy to hear your voice. Evan, thanks for listening, hopping in here. I do look forward to continuing this conversation. I would like to go to your event, and I will be clicking on this link and signing up, registering.
Well, maybe we'll let you be a special attendee. My dad's been the only male attendee in the room, but I figured it was okay since one, it's mine and it's my dad. And he's 79, and he's probably between him and my youngest, they're the most popular at the event. I think people come to see both of them. But I just so appreciate both of you, and I would love to continue this conversation. And I'll do better showing up on LinkedIn too.
Well, thank you. And one thing I will chime in on, because I talked with someone about this who's on right now. How can we continue to get more participation hand in hand with women at events that are for everyone? How do we continue to do that with not necessarily creating, women only subsections within these events, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's a start, but how do we continue to build upon that success to get more women, on panels, moderating panels, keynoting, speaking up, having a presence, being heard, and also in ownership roles, in leadership roles. And I appreciate you for doing what you can to make that happen.
Yes, of course. One thing, Eric, I have to say this before I go is with the keynote and the panels and all of that, it can't be one female on that stage. Like, they can't be the token speaker. That is not diversity. That is not changing what's wrong with our industry. So it has to be more intentional with it. Like, and it has to be all walks of life. It can't just be the one female speaker. Every speaker that we work with at Empower, like every one of them has that story. I have that story. Like, the only reason I was brought to the panel was because I checked the box. And we also have to get rid of that whole bad behavior that's happening. Like, we can't keep just checking the box. It has to be meaningful.
Agreed.
All right, so sorry to leave on a fired up note, but
No.
gosh, I just applaud you all for having the hard conversations and creating this platform and just being willing to chat it out and recognizing some of the things that need additional work. And I just appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Have a great weekend.
Y'all too. Thanks.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave this link up here for Empower Her. It's the event that Leslie created. It is in Austin, Texas in October. It's October 6th through 7th. And
Yeah.
we've got that QR code up there. You can Google this and
Perfect.
find out as well.
Just as something to kind of there's a lot of debate on all of this, right? There's a lot of issues in our industry with how we bring people to the table. There's obviously issues about conferences. I think one thing specifically is you can have a bad women's conference, the same you can have a bad as like everyone's conference. So the idea of how you run a conference is a whole other kind of thing. And to Leslie's point, getting diversity. There's diversity among women. There's that, getting interesting, intentional speakers, not just checking boxes. So I think all those things are kind of a call to us in how we run conferences, which is kind of how this whole thing started, was about all the conferences.
Great segue. And you put together this lovely chart. I'm so glad you did this because I did not have time to make this.
I learned about QR codes from you, Eric. Just kidding. Yeah. I knew about them.
You're cool. You're hip. All right. Check out, Empower Her. We've got up there Real Estate Women's Forum, Multifamily Women's Summit, Empowering Summit for Women, NMHC's Women in Multifamily. I know that Chris Moreno is listening and is looking to learn how they can do a better job with RETC coming up and for future, for future events. So, we're here, we're listening, trying to do better. And thank you for helping us learn.
Yeah, very much appreciated. All right, let's cover some news in a few minutes, and then we'll be on our merry way for the weekend.
That's correct.
So what do we have, Eric? What do we have?
What should we do? Well, let's kick this off. So Tony Souza is extremely happy. His dream's coming true. He has partnered with AppWork, and he is giving away, technically he's giving away $12,000 over 12 months. So he's going to do $1,000 checks to someone in maintenance. So that definitely was a kind of a big mover this week on LinkedIn. Tony, being an ambassador for multifamily in many ways, was chosen to do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing who he works with in September.
Yeah, kudos to AppWork and Tony for partnering on this. I think there is no one that disagrees that our the maintenance teams in our industry are among the hardest working. I think leasing agents also I get forgotten. So I think someone could do this for, some of our hardworking leasing agents that are on site dealing with lots of fires. But this is a great thing. It's very cool to see.
Yeah. All right. What else we got? Oh yeah, lots of prop techs, top the charts, Inc. 5000 list.
That's exciting.
If I could bring up my notes here, I am just so ill prepared today. I know that Rent Grata got on the list here.
Now owned by Opinion, or part of Opinion,
owned
right?
And or being folded in, if you will, to the dough that is Opinion.
Yeah, that's not what that means. Acquired. I think Opinion's on the list too.
Yeah,
yeah,
this is true.
So too, yeah. Who else is on the list? Do you have the list?
I sent it to you somewhere.
You didn't. That's fake news. I'll say it when it's fake news, but that's okay. People have seen it. People have posted about it. We celebrate everybody. Did you see the debate about pilots? And I don't mean for airlines. I mean the trials for software. Jesus from Happy Co shared a great article from Liz Christo about the value of the actual trial, and that, his point was that sometimes in multifamily, we think it signals a customer who's not interested, but there's really potentially great value in doing these trials.
Yeah, this is true. I think at the end of the day, doing a trial is just a way to, it's part of the onboarding process, really, in my mind. De-risks things for, larger portfolios that don't want to roll things out to everyone. And it kind of creates that relationship in the beginning where, the 90 days, the 6 months, whatever it is, you both agree to do something. If it gets executed and the numbers make sense, then you move forward, right? So, but it has to be a win-win. That's a challenge of business. If it's not a win-win, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, agreed. Also, there was some news out of Q2. Different groups have reported that there's a higher. You're showing something that we just talked about.
I'm already old.
Oh, yep. Yes. Prop tech list. All right, here we go.
Yeah. So Rentvine, OB snapped. We got Rent Ready in there, Pad Split, Opinion, Evernest. Yeah, bunch of great photos. Rent Spree, Zip Rent.
Good stuff. So, we'll celebrate that. We'll drop that in maybe a LinkedIn post or an Instagram post. We may share that. So Q2, there's been greater confidence out of multifamily developers than what they expected. This is due to that recent surge in some of the funding for Fannie and Freddie from the Big Beautiful Bill. So a lot of folks reported on that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think, oh my gosh, who's that investor? Omaha, Nebraska. Jeez.
Well,
a lot of investments happening right now in building, in construction. So I think there's the stock market's getting ready for the drop. Get ready for the drop.
Get ready for the drop.
Get ready for the drop. Couple basis points might be coming up here soon. So maybe you'll release a pressure valve in the US. But yeah, I mean, Q3 is going to be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. So question, Eric, what's your neurodiverse superpower? Do you have one?
I can hyper focus like no other.
Nice.
When it comes to things that are interesting and challenging. Yes. Yeah. I can hyper focus on challenges. Yes.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I have to think on that. I guess it would be some form of like processing multiple pieces of information, maybe. I guess like at once.
I think you're good at coming up with ideas on your feet. I remember one of our former episodes, I asked you to come up with a joke, and within literal seconds you did it. Now, I don't know if you like GPT'd it or not, but
I didn't. I didn't know that takes me. GPT is great. It just it makes you have to do so many things. And this is a dog right here that is.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Chelsea's calling me out here on. Yes, Warren Buffett made some investments recently.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, to be fair, his business did, but yes, Warren Buffett is making a lot, still making news, even though he's retiring.
So yes, this question was asked of the industry by Christina Robinson Race, who basically shared kind of a testimonial saying, hey, for a long time, she never talked about being diagnosed with ADHD. But now she's kind of claiming it as this great ability to kind of look at the big picture of things in multifamily.
I'm trying to find her post here. I'd love to put it up, but maybe we'll just link to it in the comments.
Yeah, we can link to it later. And finally, oops, I don't like that
there
layout.
We go. I switched it. You switched it. There we
go. Happy National Relaxation Day.
Yes, because I wear dress pants with no shoes.
And I am rocking a Zach Sloan hair bun, apparently. I do have my MRI shirt on, though, which is pretty cool. Thank you. That's ChatGPT. Thank you. Yes. They can't follow us on LinkedIn, I think, because of our logos there. But if they could submit a story.
I'll hide it. Yeah.
We'd love to have stories. They could be recaps. They could be opinions. Anything we talked about today, you want to dive into something deeper, or there's any news happening, please submit. We'd love to have you on.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, we're always looking for interesting news stories, especially the ones that are not always on LinkedIn, although oftentimes they make it to LinkedIn. That's not our only source for news. So we would love to hear from you all. So for everyone listening, please submit a news story to us, something that, is important. It could be your, best friend got a promotion to, I don't know, your boss is leaving the company and nobody knows it yet. I don't know if we're going to break stuff like that. I think Justin and I need to have conversations about breaking news like that. But yeah.
But if you love us, I know Chelsea's already following us, but if you do love us, love what we're doing, please follow us on LinkedIn. We're trying to, by September 1st, get to 1,000 followers. We're almost there. We have like 88 more to go, I think. And if people get there quicker, I won't be posting a lot of weird cartoons of Eric and I doing things. But until that happens, just be ready. I have several on deck. I have several.
We're coming down on the line here, about two more weeks or so.
Yeah.
We have some fun updates coming up for that. So thank you all to everyone who listened in. Thank you all to everyone who participated in the.
Yeah. And especially for Leslie for hopping on today. But yeah, let's keep the conversation going. It's obviously bigger than one episode, one post, one company, one person. So let's try to be kind and be listening as much as we can.
Yeah. And I'll be at Blueprint Conference if anyone wants to find me and have an in-depth conversation. Happy to have it there.
I'll be there too.
Oh, you will? You'll be showing up a day later, though.
Yeah, I know. So less conversations, just more listening.
I don't know how I'm going to stay warm at night. I'm just saying.
And on that note,